Hi there. Right, we're looking at a tiny problem here, and you can see what we are dealing with here. We've got a current here, and we've got a current there. And what we find is that both currents are added together, but there's a problem, and the problem is that they are not in phase. So that means there's a phase shift between the currents, and again, that means we don't get the sum of the current, but we get something else. So when we look at this circuit here, we've got 5 amps, phase shift of 110 degrees, and we've got 8 amps CM. So one thing is safe to say, the current I here, the resultant current, is going to be more than 8 amp, and it's going to be less than the sum of those two currents. So we've got 8 plus 5 is 13 amps. So the resultant current is going to be somewhere between 8 amps and 13 amps. Yeah, it's not going to be over 13, not going to be less than 8 amps. Okay, let's have a look at what we can do and how we can calculate this. And let's look at what we've got here. So we've got something like a triangle here, or we've got a triangle, but one thing we notice straight away, it's not rectangular because we've got this funny angle here, which is 110 degrees. It cannot be a rectangular triangle, because if you had a 90-degree angle here, it would go up to 200. And what we know is from our sort of trigonometric rules is that all angles of a triangle in 2 dimensions is going to be adding up to 180 degrees. Yeah, 180 degrees. So we know there's no 90-degree angle in here. It's impossible for a 90-degree angle to sort of hide away somewhere, because we've already got one at 110 degrees. Okay, what are we going to do? So again, we've noticed it's not rectangular. It's not a rectangular triangle. We only have one angle. The ratio, no ratio, where we might apply the sine rules, and that means we need to use the cosine rule, or the law of cosine. So the law of sines doesn't work, because the law of sines looks at an angle and a side, and again we've got no angle here, but we know the side, we know this side, but we've got no angle here, and we've got an angle here, but we don't know this side, so we're kind of stuck, so we can't use the the law of sines. Okay, let's have a look at how this box standard non-rectangular triangle looks like. We've got A here, we've got B there, and we've got angle C there, so these represent all the angles, and then the sides are opposite. So we've got angle A, angle B, side B, angle C, side C. Let's have a look at the law of sines. Law of sines says A divided by sine of A is equal to B divided by sine of B, and is equal to C divided by sine of C. So we can't use this because we do have C as an angle, as you can see up here. So C is there. Let's try and get this back into focus. So C is there, but we don't know this side here, so we can't use the law of sines at all. Yeah, we're kind of stuck with that, and we can't use it. Okay, let's have a look at the cosine rule. So we've got cosine C, we've got A squared plus B squared minus C squared divided by 2AB. So we know A, we know B, so we can substitute A and B with real numbers, and down here as well, and we know C as well, because we've got that angle up here, which is 110 degrees. You can see this there. So we can stick that one in there as well, and all we're left with is just this one unknown here, which is C squared. And again, we can transpose the formula, or we can just put in the figures and then, crack the formula. And that's what we are doing here. So we have put in cosine 110, and then we've got 5 squared plus 8 squared, and then minus C2. C2 again is the unknown, and then we just fill in those figures down there, the unknown. So we've got 2 times A times B, so that would be 2 times 5 times 8. Again, we come up with, if we reduce the formula or reduce the equation, we come up with 80 down here, 25 and 64, so we can break this down further. And we're going to go further as well, so in the end we're going to end up with 116 minus 116.361 is equal to C squared. Now we've got both minus signs here. We know we can't take a square root. That's simply from when we've got a minus sign. So we have to try to get them positive. So we multiply them by -1 both sides. We get both sides positive. Now we can take the square root, square that one, square that one. C squared becomes C, and 116.361 becomes 10.78. And that's the resultant. That's what we get. C is equal to 10.78. And because we are talking about amperes, so it's going to be amps. Okay, let's go back to our circuit here. So we've got our currents here. We've got the angle, the phase shift angle. And now we've got 10.78. Does it work out? What we said before, it's got to be more than 8 amps. Got to be less than 13 amps. So we are right where we ought to be. Okay, I hope this clarifies it. You can download the sheet with all the calculations from course-materials@chamberlainradio.com, and it's in math level 3. Okay, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. God bless. Bye-bye.